Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. I, of course, am Mr. Warren Hayes, and it is time to talk professional wrestling for a while here on youtube.com/Mr. Warren Hayes, or on your favorite podcast application, wherever you decide to jump in, tune in. I'm right here, and you're right here, so let's have a nice little time together. And if you're listening to this on YouTube, well, leave a like on the video. That would be greatly appreciated. Or subscribe if it's your first time here. That would also be tremendous. Or you can also leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or a 5-star rating on Spotify. Again, these things help out tremendously and are always fun to have around because the podcast grows. That's why they're fun. Just as simple as that. The Discord is fun. The Discord? What Discord are you talking about, Warren? The Mr. Warren Hayes Show Discord. The link is in the description if you'd like to pop in and join and talk more pro wrestling with some like-minded fans. That's, look, you couldn't ask for more. That'd be great. And on top of that, we'd love to have you. So, all of that being said, we've got a show set up here tonight. We've got the NXT Deadline review that's up that's up on tap here tonight. We've got an update on the Continental Classic, how things are going, where we're at right now. Talk about the Rey Fenix situation as well. I've got some expansive thoughts on that. It's all here, all ready to go. Let's get to it. Thank you very much for being here. Let's talk about the Continental Classic. It is time for us to do our weekly update on the Continental Classic 2024, the C2, as the cool kids as the hep cats like to call it. Let's start with the standings, shall we? We got a lot more movement than we had last week, which is good because it makes things interesting to talk about. Claudio Castagnoli currently at the top of Gold League with 6 points. Will Ospreay, second place with 1 match, 1 victory, 3 points. Brody King, Darby Allin, and Ricochet, I'm all tying them at 3 for third place because they both have all three of them, have 1 win, 1 loss, and are all tied at 3 points. And Commander, rounding out the bottom, he's got 3 losses, so he has 0 points. Over on the Blue League, Kyle Fletcher is the only wrestler so far to have won 3 matches. So he is up leading Blue League at 9 points. Kazuchika Okada ticks every box. 1 win, 1 loss, 1 draw. He is at 4 points. Same with Daniel Garcia, so they are tied for 2. Shelton Benjamin is in at follows right behind. He has 3 points with 1 win, 1 loss. Mark Briscoe also has 3 points, but he has 1 win and 2 losses, whereas the Beast Mortos has 2 losses and has no points. So those are the standings. Since last week's Dynamite, I think these past few matches for the C2 have been absolutely phenomenal. I thought the matches that we had on the December 6th Rampage were tremendous. I know that, I saw the Rampage rating earlier today that came out, and it was a complete disaster as far as ratings go. But quality-wise, this was probably the best Rampage they ever put on. As far as just pure match quality, we had Kazuchika Okada and Mark Briscoe, which I gave 4 stars to. Just a tremendous... I was so happy to see Okada wrestling like Okada kind of thing. I felt he was really wrestling an Okada style of match. But then on top of that, he was working at a really good pace. And it's Mark Briscoe who brought that out of him. So there was something in me that was like, oh man, this is really cool. This is really nice. You get the impression that most people really like working with Mark. I thought that was absolutely tremendous. And of course, Okada got the win on that one. So that was really good. The Daniel Garcia Beast Mortos match on the show was also very, very good. I give it 3.5 stars. Like out of the 3 on that show, I thought that was the weakest, but was still really good. Yeah. So when the weakest match on the on a wrestling card you're watching is like 3.5 stars, you're like, okay, we're eating good here. Like this is good. This is good, solid food here. This is a meal. This is a full course meal. So Garcia won that one, and finally, on that same Rampage, Ricochet defeated Commander in, I think we were able to nail right there the first truly great match of the tournament, because that was spectacular stuff. And not only the first great match of the tournament, unquestionably Ricochet's best match in AEW so far. He's wrestling a guy who, I don't want, not to say that he does exactly the same thing he does. That's not, that would be wrong, but wrestles a similar style. And they were completely in sync with each other, just doing some fantastic moves. That tightrope walk that the Commander does, he does it and then flips off into just this snap Rana, the snap Hurricane Rana. I was like, this is tremendous. What a hell. That was a tremendous move. Brainbuster on the apron, followed a springboard 450. Just great stuff. Like that. We weren't missing out on anything in this match. It was tremendous. I give it 4.25 stars. I thought it was great. Easily the greatest match of the tournament, until we got to the next night on Collision, where we got Darby Allin versus Commander, which I think was just as great. I gave that 4.25 stars. I thought that was absolutely tremendous. Of course, Darby Allin won that one. Kyle Fletcher and Kazuchika Okada, which I thought was another tremendous match as well. With Kyle Fletcher winning the match, a lot of people seemed surprised. I had picked him. I had predicted that Kyle Fletcher was going over. And according to my pick'em, which we are doing in the Mr. WarrenHayes Show Discord. So I have a hell of a batting average. As far as Gold League, I haven't missed a single prediction yet. I have nailed all of my Gold League predictions. All of them. I was sort of worried about Commander for a while, but I think Commander settling into the loser role here in the block, which is fine. The league. I liked Kyle Fletcher and Kazuchika Okada quite a bit. I already like how Kyle Fletcher is adapting he's already adapting his style overall to not just be about big moves, high octane stuff all the time. Probably a guy backstage, let's say, I don't know, first guy to come up off the top of my head, Will Ospreay, sat him down one day and said, son, you can't maintain this style. And you can't go that hard all the time. You're going to have to adapt and change things so that you can still do the high level stuff when it's time, or when you want to, push a really exciting final stretch to a match. But you got to work differently, especially since you're a heel. And, I think that Fletcher leaning into his Larry Zbyszko side here, doing a lot of stalling, and rolling outside of the ring. I don't hate it. I think it suits him well. I think it works quite well, actually. I was very excited to see that. And it works. So when he does do the moves, they're all the more explosive and surprising. Whereas in the meantime, he's just being a dick. And I gotta say, I got a kick out of him doing the draping DDT, from using the ropes and doing the little Randy Orton head bob before landing it. You think these people don't hear the stuff that we talk about? You think these people don't listen to that stuff? Come on now. As far as Okada goes, I know there is a lot of fear right now. There's a lot of anxiety regarding the use of Kazuchika Okada in AEW. There's a lot of that going on. I don't know if I ever openly talked about it. Maybe I did on the review a couple of times. I don't remember. The review being the AEW review, which I do every Thursday here on the channel. And, you should subscribe if you don't want to miss that. What you have with the Okada situation, which is crazy, is that a lot of people feel that he's not being pushed to the heights that he should be pushed to, because he is an international superstar. He's one of the greatest to ever do it. He should be getting his he should be pushed to his utmost value, right? Whereas I sort of look at it and I'm like, well, I get it. And to say that I'm excited about the direction that they have for Kazuchika Okada in AEW right now is a lie. But I think I don't hate it as much as other people do. But I do see some kind of redemption story here going on. Drawing with Daniel Garcia in his first match, losing to Kyle Fletcher here. He's putting young guys over. Something that he wouldn't do in Japan, right? But he's doing it here. He's losing. I think that there's a lot of, now that the Elite has sort of unofficially disbanded, I think there's a lot of stuff where he has to reconnect with who he is, find the Rainmaker of old. It's a story we've seen Okada tell before, right? We all, a lot of us remember Balloon Okada, which wasn't necessarily his greatest accomplishment, or herniated back Okada, who was still wrestling with a herniated back, which, doesn't make any sense, but we've covered this in past episodes of the show. I think there's some of this going on, a rehabilitation of who Kazuchika Okada is. I sincerely believe that's happening. And I know a lot of Apero fans are extremely upset at AEW for the way they've handled him, but they're acting as if, I think a lot of them are acting as if his career is done, as if this is his swan song. Whereas if there's one guy that you would assume is just easy to rehabilitate in the blink of an eye, it's Kazuchika Okada. I'm pretty sure. So we'll see how these next few matches go. But I really do feel like this is these uneven matches that he's been having so far are not detrimental to him in this tournament. And then another thing that I find funny is that a lot of the Puro fans who are, embodying anxiety right now because of how Okada is being treated in this tournament, I kind of wonder if they've ever watched a G1, because Okada would lose matches. Not every Kazuchika Okada G1 was a spotless record. He dropped a couple of matches here and there. I don't know what the issue is. I think the issue is, let me rephrase that. I do know what the issue is. The issue is that Okada was, in their mind, was not being well booked to begin with. So they're just continuing that trend here. We're just continuing down that trend with this poor booking in the C2. Would they be selling more tickets to shows right now if we had a hot Kazuchika Okada and he was truly one of the top guys in the company? We'll never know now. But there's still, there's still 2025 coming up. There's the All In show. We'll see what they might develop here. And then Dan Garcia versus Mark Briscoe was next, with Mark Briscoe getting his first 3 points on the board, which again is super exciting. And I thought it was a really good match. On top of that, another great match. I'm telling you, all of these matches here, they all ruled. All of these matches. Like, if you haven't seen this weekend's Collision, if you haven't seen this last Friday's Rampage, I would outright say just seek them out and go watch them. Go watch these matches. They're all good. They're all good to great. You're not gonna, most of them are great on top of that. Most of them are great matches. Excellent stuff. So you're just gonna have a really good time. You're just gonna have a really good time. And isn't that all that matters when it comes to pro wrestling? You should have a really good time. Like, no one remembered Okada losing to Kenny at the G1 when Kenny was US champ. Yeah, wouldn't that have been beneath him, right? Okada's career wasn't dead yet. The same purpose fans that are complaining he's losing in the C2 are the same fans that were complaining when he won too many matches in the G1s. Yes. They'll never get it right. So we already went down the placements for both leagues. So some quick block analysis here moving forward. There's a little more to chew on this week. Let's start with the Gold League. I think as it stands right now, the Gold League is still very open. I think it's hard to, trace a victor or a clear path for someone. Mathematically, of course, you can have your own booking patterns in your mind, but it's still very open. And the reason why it's very open right now is because Will Ospreay has only wrestled 1 match so far. Most guys have wrestled 2 matches, but Ospreay has only wrestled 1. So he has 4 matches to go, while practically everyone else has 3 matches to go, outside of Commander, who only has 2 matches to go. So we could still go any way we want. Commander, as I was suspecting last week, I believe will be the recipient of the first soft elimination from Continental Classic expert, MrWarrenHayes. I think mathematically there are wackadoo paths for him to still make it mathematically to the end and maybe qualify for World's End. But these paths, and I myself sort of like threw my hands up and was like, what am I doing? I'm not gonna break down the paths, technically, but there are multiple draws that have to happen throughout this tournament. Like, especially between Ricochet and Darby Allin. That's essentially what has to happen. So, and not Ricochet and Darby Allin, Ricochet and Will Ospreay, excuse me. Those are the two that have to, they can get a win, but they have to, no, they can't even get a win. They have to rack up draws. So that's very unlikely, right? So this is what I've learned when it comes to, round robin tournaments, is when you're mapping out paths and you go and you look at everything you've jotted down, you look at your notes and you say, that looks unlikely, and they're not going to do it. They're going to go for the simplest ways to the destination they want to get to. They're not going to do these ultra convoluted. They might do, they got to do things for drama, but not convoluted. Convoluted does not equal drama. It equals good times for the stat nerds, but for the general public, they're like, what the fuck is going on? I don't understand. So while he is not officially eliminated from the Continental Classic, because mathematically there are still paths for him to make it to World's End, I nonetheless will soft eliminate Commander from the C2. And he will be the only person that I will eliminate. Why not Beast Mortos, Warren? He hasn't won any matches either. Beast Mortos still has the possibility of 9 points. Unlike Commander, who has 3 matches under his belt and only has 2, the max number of points he can make is 6. That is the max number of points. Beast Mortos still has 3 matches ahead of him. Could still, potentially, albeit unlikely, win his next 3. Which would mean, what would that mean? He would have to beat Kazuchika Okada. He would have to beat Mark Briscoe. He would have to beat Shelton Benjamin. I could see him defeating Mark. I think it's unlikely he defeats Shelton Benjamin, but I am not saying that it is impossible. And I don't think Okada is losing against Beast Mortos. Just say it. So, yeah, I'm like, Bernie can still win. Yes, exactly. It's like, wait. Or like Kamala this year, right? I said Kamala, excuse me. It's like Kamala this year. It's like, wait a second. Okay, so we lose Pennsylvania, but what if we win California and Utah? And it's like, there was a lot of that going on. So Beast Mortos. What a sidetrack. Beast Mortos, I don't think still has mathematically chances. Like, yeah, he's in the dumps, but he's not down in the dumps just yet. If we look at the board of who's left for people to wrestle, well, Okada has 2 matches left, right? So Okada and I would say that I would say that his biggest obstacle has been overcome in Kyle Fletcher. Apologies to the Shelton Benjamin stands out there. I think that his last 2 matches, being Shelton Benjamin and Beast Mortos, are pretty much sure wins for him. So I would say that ultimately, Kazuchika Okada is going to end with 10 points. That would be my prediction. Kyle Fletcher has Daniel Garcia and Mark Briscoe left. If I were, there's two ways you can go about this. Kyle Fletcher is absolutely beating Mark Briscoe. I think that's pretty much undeniable at this point. However, Kyle Fletcher, I am not sure, is beating Daniel Garcia, because you can tell the story of Garcia having a really, really soft debut in the G1, but coming over strong and defeating the only guy who's been undefeated. Right? Because we haven't set, I don't think the Fletcher and Briscoe matches have been set for a date yet as we're recording this, right? There's not a date that's been set for this specifically, right? So, I would argue that Fletcher's last match is going to be against Garcia, and Garcia is going to get what's going to be considered an upset win, because Fletcher will be on the path to sweep, just as simple as that. But I think Garcia is going to come spoil that. That's what I do at this point. Garcia has Fletcher, as we mentioned, in Shelton Benjamin, so not exactly a walk in the park for him. I can't imagine him ending with a losing record. His 2nd year in a row, he's the TNT champion. Shouldn't have made him champion then if you're just going to bring him in here and have him lose, you know? Briscoe has Fletcher and Beast Mortos left. So I think Briscoe has the potential to add another 3 points, but I don't think 6. So I don't think he's going to really be in the running. Shelton Benjamin, like we mentioned, has Okada and Garcia left. It's going to be a bit of a toss-up, not going to lie. I don't think he's beating Kazuchika Okada. And the Garcia match, well, that'll be interesting to follow. That will be very, very interesting. And Beast Mortos has Okada, Briscoe, and Benjamin left. You know, he could beat Mark Briscoe. He really could. But I think he takes the L to Okada, and I think he takes the L to Benjamin, right? As far as the Gold League goes, well, Darby Allin has 3 matches left. He's got Claudio Castagnoli, Will Ospreay, and Ricochet. We already know the Ospreay match is next week on the 18th. So Darby might be a player. He might be an important key for the final leg of the tournament, since 2 of his matches are still out there, right? If I'm not mistaken. Yeah. 2 of his matches are still haven't been locked in. So I think he might not saying that he's going to be a crucial part, like he's going to be a contender to move forward, but I think he's going to be in a position to at least spoil some tournaments, and I 100% believe he's going to spoil Castagnoli's chance at he's going to spoil Castagnoli's chance at losing at winning the league, because the way things could go easily is Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher winning both their leagues, so ergo not fighting each other in the semis and then moving on to fighting each other in the finals, which I think is the least interesting option. I think you should have them fight in the semis and then have the blow off be big and meaningful at the Australia show, and at World's End, finish your C2 with Okada versus Ospreay. I think that would be tremendous. Look, we'll see. There's still a possibility that might happen. Castagnoli has Commander, Ospreay, and Darby Allin left, so he's got 3 matches left. He's absolutely defeating Commander. He's really got a potential for another 6 points. He really has the potential for another 6 points. It could be just 3, but I could see him get another 6, and then finish the tournament with 12 points. There's a solid case for him coming in second as a runner-up. Will Ospreay has, like we mentioned, 4 matches left, so he's the outlier that's making all of this really tough to predict. Ricochet has Darby Allin, Will Ospreay, and Brody King left. Brody King is going to be on Dynamite this week. That should be fun. I'm excited for this. As for Brody, he's got, of course, wait a second. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's this week, right? Right. Brody King has Will Ospreay, Ricochet, and Commander left. I think there's at least a 3 points in there somewhere for him. At least 6 max if you want him to beat Ricochet again, because I don't think he's beating Will Ospreay. And Commander, well, I think he's finishing the tournament with the goose egg. But I got to say, I kind of talked about it last week before we got into the Commander matches, after it was announced that he was going to be alternating for Juice Robinson. I said, I like Juice, but maybe Commander just might be an upgrade here. Turns out, I think Commander is an upgrade. No disrespect to Juice, but I think we're on the winning end here. And he might actually be the winner of, a sentimental winner of the G1, because if he continues having performances like he's been having, like at some point, Tony Khan is just going to have to wake up and say, yeah, you know what? We got to do something with Commander. He just can't be the guy that goes out and loses. We got to do something now. So that's where we're at right now with the Continental Classic 2024. My coverage of the C2 also happens over on the Dynamite review, which I record and put out there every Thursday. So if you want the updated version of the Continental Classic after Dynamite, make sure you subscribe to the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel, and or subscribe on your favorite podcast application, and you'll get your update on Thursday as I review the Continental Classic based on the stuff that happened on Dynamite the night before. Over the weekend on December 7th, right? Well, let's backtrack just a little bit. It was announced it was confirmed last week. It was confirmed last week that Penta El Zero Miedo, Pentagon Jr., whatever, he's officially done with AEW. His contract is up. He is now free to do whatever he wants. He is now like free as a bird, and he was removed off the AEW roster page. So his contract is officially done, right? That's the first thing that we have to start off with. I think I'm going to change the title. The Rey Fenix. We'll do the title live. The Rey Fenix situation is crazy. There we go. Demetrius, welcome to the chat. You're arriving just on time. I don't know if I have any answer. I don't think I have any real answers for you, but you know, we'll have a good time in the process. So basically, everything is done with Penta and AEW. That's all wrapped up with a nice little bow on top, and we're good to go. And then of course the attention all turned to Rey Fenix, who, as you know, his contract was supposed to be done at the same time as Penta's, but he was tacked on extra time on his contract because of all the time he took off for injuries. So he's still technically under contract. Well, not just technically, he is still under contract, right? And then, so all this discussion came up online again with Rey Fenix, with, how AEW should release Rey Fenix and all the arguments for and against, why you'd be against that. But, all this stuff popping up, and, everything was going smoothly. And then on Saturday, December 7th, he tweeted out on response to another tweet. He said, "I will have my chance to speak the truth." Oh, there we go. Okay. So we're going to start doing the vague tweeting. We're going to start being very vague. We're going to start letting things we're going to start establishing that, maybe things that there's some disfranchised feelings. Maybe we're a little upset. Maybe we're not exactly happy with how the way things go down, right? Didn't quite get into it. It's like, boo. I will speak my truth. And on the same day, he tweets out, "No one stays in a place where they received inhumane treatment." Raised a lot of eyebrows. Inhumane. I'm watching this tweet here, and I'm thinking to myself, inhumane. That's pretty big. Like, there better be some receipts for this. Inhumane. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like unfair, unjust. I was treated like shit. No, inhumane. That's a loaded word. Inhumane. Whoa. All right. I guess he was pressed a little bit by people because he responded this to someone saying, unfortunately, and he posted this at midnight on December 9th, midnight. So, we're all going to bed. We're all ready for a good night's sleep. And then Rey Fenix, he says, "Unfortunately, due to contractual issues, I cannot speak now, but I will have my time." Like all wrestlers do. And then most don't. But he's very mad. He's not in a good spot. He was treated inhumanely, but he cannot speak on it because due to contractual issues, he tells us on December 9th at midnight, he tells us, I cannot speak now, but I will have my time. All right. Well, this morning, December 9, exactly 8 hours later, from the moment he tweeted where due to contractual obligations, he cannot speak on it, but he will have his time. Well, I guess his time arrived 8 hours later, and that the contractual obligations were, I don't know, because he said, he tweets, I needed a doctor and you ignored me for months. 8 hours later, I guess the contractual obligations are all put together. It's all nice and tidy. What is going on? So that, of course, restoked the flames, right? Got everyone upset. Like an hour or so before the Tony Khan, not just Tony Khan, but the AEW thingy, where they did the thing in Texas, the event, the all-in event. And so I'm just sitting there completely gobsmacked. I'm like, what the hell is going on, right? So I needed a doctor, and you ignored me for months. So he is clearly emphasizing the fact that AEW has mistreated him. This is what he's trying to say. He was treated inhumanely and was ignored because he required medical treatment and was ignored. I legitimately think, okay, that once again, I have the most measured and best take in regards to an internet wrestling controversy. It's not just internet, but it's taking place on the internet is what I'm trying to say. I do believe that I have the most measured take here. Walk with me, if you will. Wrestling companies in general, right? They have a history of prioritizing themselves over their wrestlers, right? So when a professional wrestling company is accused of doing a bad thing, it is generally difficult to not. It's generally difficult to trust. When they do the bad thing, it's generally difficult to believe the opposite, or to not assume that the promotion did a bad thing, because there is long documented history of multiple professional wrestling organizations doing exactly that. Flip side, professional wrestlers are also professional liars. They have a tendency to extend the truth a little bit. If it suits their needs, if it benefits their own agendas, which just makes things all the more muddled, right? Because you've got promotions which are untrustworthy, wrestlers who are untrustworthy. Put all of that together, and like, oh boy, especially when it's wrestlers that have a little past. I have a little past to go along with it. Anyway, I'm just saying. I want to make sure that we're clear here. There are no heroes in this story. I think there are no heroes. And there's no need to take sides here either. And that's one of the most important lessons I need everyone to glean here. Okay? You can have logical takes, but there is no reason to take sides here. It's like I say multiple times, especially when it comes to, well, particularly when it comes to promotions, to corporations in this case. Never stick up for them. Never stick up for a company, because they will always disappoint you. And they will never do the same to you. A corporation will never stick up for you, right? And wrestlers, well, you want to stick up for wrestlers, well, do at your own risk. You can have very blanket statements when it comes to, workers' rights and so on, and that is 100% fair. Ask Adam Page. I'm kidding, but It is. And I think it is very natural to side with I think it's very natural to side with pro wrestlers in terms of contract disputes. One thing I would like everyone to keep in mind as well is that when pro wrestlers sign these types of contracts, whether it's with AEW or WWE, these big contracts, they understand what they're getting themselves into. If they don't, that's on them. But normally they should. They should have someone read over the contract, not just take the promotion's word for it. And they should read over the contract and say, "Yep, okay, this makes a lot of sense. I'm good with this," right? That's what you think that's what you think they'd be doing. But in reality, regardless, not even in reality, regardless, they know what they're getting themselves into. Just like a pro athlete or an actor who signs with a studio for, a certain amount of movies or so, they understand what they're getting themselves into. So it's also important to understand that this is very different from you having a 9-to-5 or, having a day job, no matter how many hours it is, it's very different from you and I who have, regular jobs, and you see a lot of injustice in this. Whereas these contracts are signed by willing parties who understand what they're getting into. So if Rey Fenix thought that he could just one day call up Tony Khan and say, "Hey, I'm done. I want under my contract." Well, that's not exactly how it works, and I don't want to get into the weeds because there's a lot of stuff that we don't understand or that we just don't know. There's a lot of stuff that we don't know about what led us to this situation where Tony Khan just decides to no longer use the Lucha Brothers, right? There's a lot of stuff that we don't know. We're getting everything pretty much from one side, which is also something you must always be super wary about. And that's not just in pro wrestling. That's like in general. And yes, just because a contract exists between two parties doesn't mean it's moral. I agree. Nonetheless, the principles of the contract were both agreed upon because two people sat down, read it, and decided to sign it. Say, yes, we both agree. We explicitly agree on everything that's in here. Now, on the morality side of the contract, this was also where it gets tricky, because we know that pro wrestling contracts, as opposed to in most sports organizations that have the benefit of a players union, a lot of the contracts in pro wrestling, these major contracts, are weighed very much in favor of the promotions. So that's always an issue. That's always a problem, where you get into these contracts, you start up, you sign the contract, and maybe you're giving up a lot of liberties. Maybe you're giving up a lot of, maybe you're conceding on a lot of points just so that you can get that big contract that'll make you some big money, right? And I understand that. These have never really been challenged in court until, maybe the Kevin Kelly thing, maybe not, and most importantly, there are no players unions. Like, there's no wrestler unions. There's no wrestler union in pro wrestling. And there probably never will be, because the wrestlers have to want it. And I don't think the wrestlers do. And even if the wrestlers do want it, the wrestlers who have the most pull are those who already benefit from being at the top of the food chain and not being weighed down by any unions and whatnot. They probably just want to leave things as they are. And they would probably, use whatever sway they have to push back and make sure that a union never comes together. That's a whole other discussion. This is what I mean when I say, I don't think you have to take sides. Because, I understand the reasoning for AEW to do this, right? Rey Fenix is a talent that was featured on national television in the United States thanks to AEW. And probably WWE wouldn't have the same level of interest for them, for the Lucha Brothers, if it hadn't been for AEW. AEW, WWE are in a talent war. There is a war out there for the prime natural resource for wrestling promotions, which is pro wrestlers. So they are. So right now, what is AEW's choice? Do they let a ready-made talent go? You can absolutely make the argument that it doesn't matter. In the case of the Lucha Bros, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, and I have a tendency to agree with that. Again, the point here, what I'm trying to start off with here is at least trying to understand AEW's reasoning here. You know, the last guy AEW left before their contract ran out, ran right back to the WWE and was soon thereafter featured on television when that person said, "I do not want to be featured on television, don't worry." So AEW has been, on top of the fact that they're in a talent war right now, they've already been burned. They've already been burned. What kind of message does that send to the locker room then? Go on social media, complain, and eventually I'll let you out of your contract. That's not a good message. That's not a good message that you're sending to your locker room, right? So AEW has reasons, business related, for keeping talent under contract, which, you know, from their perspective is valid. But I want to echo what Lucha Blog wrote, what Cubs fan wrote on Lucha Blog regarding this. He said that well, I want to resonate them, so I'll use it I'll say it in my own words. Like, these reasons don't resonate with me. You know, like the business reasons for me as a fan, for someone who follows this, like, I understand them, but it doesn't really bother me, right? I have no attachment necessarily to AEW as an entity, other than what they're able to provide me on TV on a weekly basis that I can then analyze and talk about and review and enjoy, hopefully at the same time. Now, enjoying is always very good, but other than that, their business considerations has no impact on me. I don't work for them, you know. I don't get a paycheck. I don't have stock options or whatever the fuck. Like, I know they don't have stock. You know what I'm talking about. It's just an example. I don't have a horse in this race. If Rey Fenix, why did my voice do that? If Rey Fenix was treated unfairly in AEW, he absolutely 100% deserves to move forward. If he indeed was treated inhumanely, as he says, he's absolutely entitled to just like ask for the rope to be cut. Can I just please move on? Maybe get a little compensation in the meantime, and then move on. I think he should do that, even though Tony Khan is still paying his contract, even though he's still paying him out. You know, I think most fans would prefer that Rey Fenix be out there doing things than, you know, being benched, sitting at home. But like, the thing that's important to keep in mind here is that we're only hearing things from one side. And this is so crucial in this circumstance. It is so important that we understand that all of this is coming from one side, and that side is the aggrieved party who wants to generate sympathy for their cause, plus also wants to generate some heat on the company so that the company can either suffer in the public relations department or just cut ties because they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to deal with it anymore. And if I'm AEW, quite honestly, the year 2024 right now has already been such a shitty year for PR. It's again been, just like from 2023 to this year, it's just been, slaps to the face all the time. I'd be like, okay, let's just suck this one in. It'll last a couple of days and we'll move on. That's fine. It's like, doesn't really matter. That's what I'd do if I were them. I mean, they went through the entire CM Punk saga. Okay, let's just put this in perspective. They went through CM Punk, vague tweeting, but vague posting on his Instagram while he was still under their employ, and being Phil, and talking to the sheets, and finally like fighting another guy backstage, and then getting himself fired because he lunged at the president. This all came together, and they weathered that storm. I think they can handle Rey Fenix, who wants to be out a couple of months before the end of its contract. I think that, I think that's a sound strategy on their part. Not saying it's right. I'm saying it's a sound strategy. And you see, here's another thing that's interesting to think about, is that it's Rey Fenix right now who's on the internet and doing this. Meanwhile, Penta he hasn't said a word. Penta, if I remember correctly, and you can feel free to correct me, chat. Wouldn't be the first time, won't be the last. The last time he spoke on this issue, right? He was saying, didn't he say something to the effect that, my future is my future, but my present is AEW, something like that. He was handling it just like putting it in a little box and like, that's all I'm going to say. Like a pro, just hanging on to it and handling it well, while Phoenix is out there airing the dirty laundry, right? He's just out there airing the dirty laundry. And you know who doesn't like that? You know who doesn't like wrestlers who go online to just air out dirty laundry? You know who doesn't like that? WWE. They don't like that. They don't like people coming in with that kind of stuff, or, and are the deals done yet? There haven't been any announcements. There shouldn't be any deals done yet because technically Phoenix is still under contract. So he cannot be signing deals right now. So, I'd tread carefully if I were him. I'd tread carefully if I were him. There's a lot of rumors going around that, not rumors. There's a school of thought, how about that, who believes that Conan is in Phoenix's ear and is whispering in his ear, right? But this is pure speculation. This is just like, but a lot of people think this is a little bit of Conan's doing, going to, moving forward with this. Moving forward with this this idea that Conan doesn't like Tony Khan, and said just a couple of months ago, it's going to bite back at you. What was he saying exactly? So it's going to bite back. I'm going to get you. I'm coming to get you, kind of thing. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if he's like, in Phoenix's ear and saying, you should put this out on the internet. You should, if he doesn't want to let you go, make life hard for him. And quite frankly, it's a very lucha thing to do. It's you sort of go out and call some people out, torch a couple of bridges on the way. But it does seem, or a lot of people do feel, like Conan is suggesting moves to Phoenix. And if so, then Phoenix is ultimately just a little pawn in this game that Conan has to get back at TK for what? For not giving him a job? But this again, like, it's pure speculation, right? And there's a lot of things we can speculate on, such as what are the reasons? What is the reason, or are the reason? What is the reason TK just decided to stop booking? Just decided to stop booking the Lucha Bros, right? Because Fightful Select today had a report. Let me just pull it up here. Again, it's behind the paywall, so I don't want to really necessarily pull things up. Yeah, it's probably because of how the AAA relationship ended, right? But hey, Conan's going to Conan. Like they were all ready to take Tony Khan's money. They being Conan, Eric Bischoff, and etc. And then when Tony was like, "Nah, I'm not going to give you any money," then suddenly, right? Anyway, Fightful has spoken to numerous sources in AEW who were surprised by Fenix's tweets, even though the two sides are on the outs. One admitted there have long been communication issues, but hadn't heard anything that would be considered as inhumane and hadn't spoken to Fenix about it. They had heard that Fenix took issue with a doctor who hadn't cleared him at one point, though context on that wasn't exactly complete. Another AEW source who claimed to be familiar with the matter said that the claims were untrue and that the word of AEW not being upset by the fake news was someone trying to babyface themselves in the situation. This is referring to some tweet from a rando Twitter reporter. Y'all know what I think about Twitter reporters, right? I don't even remember who it is. As AEW had been upset about the word that Lucha Bros had talks with WWE with plenty of time remaining on their deals. It's a bit of a confusing statement here, but what I believe Sean is saying here is that the reported reason for AEW shutting the Lucha Bros off of TV, that the reported issue being that they had already been in talks with WWE while still under their contract. The AEW source said that was fake news. That's not the reason they were pulled off. Later in the report, this is interesting. Later in the report, Fightful says Penta and Fenix were both factored significantly into creative plans throughout the year. They, along with Pac, were originally planned to win the AEW Trios Championships at All In before the aforementioned rumored talks with WWE took place. While Fenix was injured, Pac and Penta were also at one time planned for a deep run in the AEW World Tag Team Tournament after Sting retired. The word in the report says expired, but I assure you, Sting is still alive. He was on television. He was on stream today. He was live. He's still breathing. He's fine. So the point I'm making here is that we're only getting one side. The other side obviously has conflicting information because this is the type of situation where you will have two sides. But the most important thing is that you do not have to pick a side. You don't have to choose a side. It can be nuanced. It can be absolutely nuanced. And I think my overall dislike at the idea that of Rey Fenix being put away in told to stay at home until his contract runs up is shitty. And I would much prefer him just being out there, doing what he likes, doing what he's great at, doing what he loves, as opposed to just being instead of what they're doing right now, And I think that's important that we keep that in mind, because The business reasons, while we can analyze them, while we can scratch our chins and say, yes, this makes a lot of sense, which they do, they shouldn't matter to us as fans. As fans, they shouldn't matter to us. We should be watching pro wrestlers pro wrestle. That's what we should be doing right now. So this story is obviously not done. There's probably more developments to come. If Rey Fenix is smart at this point, or at least, let me say that again. Hopefully, someone has got to Rey Fenix, whether it's his brother or anyone else, and told him, yo, put the phone down, and stop and go work out, find a hobby, start up a Zen garden, get a 1,000-piece puzzle. Just find something to do, but stay off the phone. Don't add any fuel to this, because there is a fair chance that this could harm them in the long run with WWE. And imagine if they burn a bridge with AEW. They burn a bridge with AEW, and then they inadvertently burn their bridge with WWE, and then they really, like, you'd think they'd have a burnt bridge with AAA, but they don't, which is weird, but I think it's just a question of the enemy's my friend kind of thing. Imagine if this situation here with Phoenix and whatnot coming in with all this heavy-handed dirty laundry, and WWE sort of gets cold feet, because this kind of stuff, WWE really doesn't like it. So when Rey Fenix says, oh, I'm going to speak my truth one day. No, you won't. Not unless you do it in some sort of time zone, in some temporal area where you are no longer employed by AEW and not yet employed by WWE, and WWE has given you the okay to give interviews and whatnot. You're not speaking your truth, and that will never happen. And most wrestlers who do say that eventually don't. They never end up talking their truth. They just end up disappearing. Just end up going, whoop, the issue is never brought up. Because if Phoenix is underemployed with WWE, they are not going to let him, go to any interviews where this stuff will be covered, unless they let him pull a CM Punk, right? But then again, I'd be surprised. Not everyone gets that privilege to go out there on Ariel Helwani and shoot from the hip. Can Rey Fenix shoot from the hip? But there you go. So that's the Rey Fenix situation. It is crazy. Those are my thoughts on it. But, the best thing you as a fan can really do is just don't take sides. Don't take sides for all the reasons I just went over over the last, 25 minutes, 30 minutes? God almighty. But for real, no reason to take sides. Just let this thing play out and hope that Rey Fenix can get into a wrestling ring as soon as possible so that you can watch him wrestle again. That's all. Hey, speaking of TNA, let's change the vibe a little bit. We've been talking about some fucking depressing bullshit. Let's sweeten the vibe a little bit here. All right? You ready? Because this is great stuff. This is great stuff here. This is the kind of stuff that makes you want to, what does it make you want to do? Whatever it makes you want to do, it'll make you do it. TNA to hold pay-per-views in both Los Angeles and New York. Now, hey, big dog, nice to see you. Welcome to the chat. So I read this and I'm like, oh, good for, I was like, good for TNA. LA, New York, you're getting out of Windsor, you're getting out of Nashville, there's this good stuff, right? Big stuff, big markets. And I'm excited for them. I'm thinking about this and I'm like, hell yeah, baby. TNA, TNA. And then I read a little bit of it. I don't know if you heard. Oh, look, let's read through the article. So we're right. TNA Wrestling is bringing pay-per-views to both Los Angeles and New York next year. Okay, tremendous. After holding a fan poll claiming that it would decide which of the two cities would host an upcoming event, TNA announced today being December 4th. We're recording this on the 5th. TNA announced that it will be running both Los Angeles and New York in 2025. Ha ha ha! You scamps! You scamps, TNA, you run the fan poll to get people to decide, but all the while you're like, tee-hee-hee, we're going to do both. Oh, you rascals. The promotion said that more than 1 million votes were cast in the poll. 1 million. 1 million votes. No, more than 1 million. TNA's on fire. It's on a roll. It doesn't rate. Its TV ratings don't pop up on any charts anywhere because they're so low, but 1 million people voted. More than 1 million people voted. And there was no overwhelming winner. That's why we had to do both. This is all very above board. This is where this article starts getting dicey. This is where the information starts getting dicey. This is where it starts getting a little dicey. Rebellion will take place from the Galen Center in Los Angeles on Sunday, April 27. The venue is part of the University of South California campus. I was like, wait a second. Galen Center. That's on the higher side of attendance or capacities, right? 10,258. That seems like a lot. that seems like a lot. 10,258 seats? And I'm assuming like that's for like a basketball setup. So you can add more floor seats for a wrestling show. 10,000? Oh yeah, I don't think this is starting to not be a good idea. So what are they doing in New York? The rest of the article. UBS Arena in Long Island, New York will then host Slammiversary 2025 on Sunday, July 20. Wait a second. The UBS Arena? The UBS Arena? Like the UBS Arena? Wait a second. I mean, this is a big building, isn't it? This is a big venue. This is 17,250 for NHL games and up to 19,000 for concerts and other events. What? Is TNA telling me that they're going to fill an arena with 17,000 people at minimum for one of their shows? And that they feel so confident that they'll be able to even fill a 10,000 seat venue in Los Angeles? And what? I don't understand. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm all about wanting to do ambitious things, right? I'm all about wanting to do ambitious things. But holy shit, like, let's be real here. There's a certain form of reality here that has to sink in. And I'm not going to do comparisons to other promotions running similar sized buildings and whatnot. That's whatever. But when in the meantime, when your lead up, look, you are going to have 4 months, 4.5 months, 4 months, more like 5 months, okay? Let's be generous and say 5 months. To get to April 27, okay? You'll have 5 months to get there. And this is what you have to work with to, in the meantime. This is what you're going to have to work with to get you there. You're going to have to give us AJ Francis versus Nick Nemeth. Like, this is the stuff that you are going to have to try and break through with. That to me is like, what does TNA have in its bag of tricks that will create enough buzz and interest to get us to the point where something like Nick Nemeth and AJ Francis will be forgotten and people will be like, no, we've got better than this. What do they got? What's the ace in the hole here? Because I don't see it right now. I don't see what TNA has to offer that can fill out a 10,000 seat arena, much less a near 20,000 seat arena. They have to have something. They have to have like some kind of scheme. There has to be something. Now, chat says, Slammiversary might fill up, to be honest. Slammiversary being the one in LA for the 10,000 seat venue. I would argue that there's maybe a chance, if only, like, I don't entirely disagree. First time TNA running the venue, same thing with the UBS Arena. Sometimes just the allure of a first time thing is enough to get people excited, right? Is enough to get people going, hey, maybe I'll buy a ticket and go see this. It's gonna be a historical event. It's gonna be a good time. It's gonna be big. Sometimes you just want to do that. Excuse me. Look, we saw it with AEW running Wembley. The first year they do tremendous business. They go the second year, they do very strong business, but not as strong. But and you have the rule of diminishing returns that the more you go there, the more you go there to that to a venue, or a town, then the allure sort of goes away, because the excitement of seeing a thing for the first time sort of peters off. So I agree that they have a chance to do a good attendance for both, actually, but 10,000 people, and 18,000 people, no shot. There's no shot they're doing it unless fucking John Cena shows up, right? Like this is the kind of stuff. Like John Cena shows up, or there's some finally the talent exchange between TNA and WWE finally pays off for TNA, kind of thing. A lot of the in-ring has been great. I think Joe Hendry is what you mean, gets the title at one of those events. Mike Santana has been great too. I really like Mike Santana's move to TNA. Like it's really reinvigorated him. It's really changed him, and for the best. I think it's good. Joe Hendry will not be around. Joe Hendry's not sticking around. Like, didn't he get his contract shortened? Right? Isn't Joe Hendry's contract? I feel we covered this. Mike Johnson of PW. Okay, so throughout the summer and early fall, Joe Hendry has appeared for WWE and TNA. No Mercy, blah, blah, blah. Sean Ross Sapp via Fightful reports that Hendry has a substantial amount of time remaining on his contract. Mike Johnson previously reported that Hendry's contract is believed to run through 2025. Hendry has been with TNA since 2022, so on and so forth. I swear I saw something saying that his contract that he had got his contract shortened. Kind of like Jordan. Or maybe I'm dreaming this now. Like, I was convinced that Joe Hendry had why was I convinced that he got it shortened? I was convinced. Anyway, we know Jordan's contract is getting shortened. I don't know. Look, to be fair, right? You always have to give the horse an opportunity to race, right? So to be fair, April is 5 months away. And what's the other one? July, right? This isn't the right article. We're not going back to this. We're not going back to this. And then, in July, well, July is, it's a baby's birth away. Okay. I'm very curious. Look, I'll repeat it just to make sure I'm clear. I think they can't do this without WWE over-delivering on the talent exchange thing. I think that's how they do it. If WWE decides to send over some proper talent, then they're starting to have a chance to make it, because don't forget, this is a company whose ratings are so low they don't chart. Okay, like no matter how much we want to talk about it, that we want the buzz here, TNA's ratings are so low they don't chart. When is the last time TNA's ratings charted on lists, on ratings rundowns? You want me to tell you when the last time was when Kenny Omega was the world champion. That's the last time. So I'm not saying that, they should have partnered with AEW. That's neither here nor there. But the point is that without extra help, I don't think TNA is cracking anything. That's what I'm saying. And I will give them a chance, right? And I think more successful pro wrestling is good, regardless of what my personal tastes are. So to a degree, I really hope it works out for them, but holy shit. Like they're not helping their case right now. I mean, come on. This is what the front row tickets for. That guy was this for what show is this? Is this for the LA show? $600 for a front row seat. I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot, but we've seen worse. But it's a lot for a TNA show, but we've seen worse. We've seen worse. It's hilarious because the regular stands are $25. Well, I mean, that's the thing is they're playing the game at the same time, right? You kick off your event, you make the announcement, you put this stuff out there. You hope that the rubes, jump in. And you make a couple of hundo just selling your front row tickets, right? I want to meet whoever would pay $250 for a TNA show. Quite frankly, so would I. I'd have some business proposals for them. Look, best of luck to TNA, but reach for the stars, right? Right, folks? Grab that brass ring. Get 10,000 people there in LA. Fill out the UBS arena. Let's go. But hey, here's the thing. The discourse will be absolutely insufferable if the attendances are very, very good. The discourse is going to be insufferable. You've got months to prepare for it, folks. And now we review NXT Deadline, Deadle 1 NE, as we like to say here on the show. 2024, a show that happened on December 7, 2024. From the Minneapolis Armory in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Go figure. Well, look, let's start right off by talking about the overall business of the show. Interesting little situation here, a little thing that I haven't seen much people pick up on. Isn't this strange? According to WrestleTix, I'm recording this on Sunday, so the day after the event. And WrestleTix had an update day of. So on December 7th, WrestleTix had an update. It's not the final update, but nonetheless will give us a good idea of the amount of people who showed up for the big PLE. 1,793 tickets were distributed. The setup for the show, again according to WrestleTix, was for 2,066 people. It's Warren, that's not bad, right? That's pretty good, Warren. What do we do? What's so bad about that, Warren? Nothing intrinsically when you look at it that way. However, when you consider that the Armory in Minneapolis, Minnesota is a venue that hosts that can seat over 8,000 people. then it gets a little more, then you're like, oh, wait a second, this wasn't good at all. Now, I know some tickets get removed because you set up the video wall, right? So there's some seats that just aren't available so that the production set up, and for the hard cam and all that stuff. I understand that, but not to justify like that big a gap, right? Now, in all fairness, I do not know because I'm not familiar with the venue all that much. So to be fair, I don't know if this is their typical, like this, how malleable their setup was to allow for a pro wrestling presentation. I don't know if they, if I don't know what a typical 8,000 person crowd in the Armory looks like, right? Is pro wrestling just not conducive to that? Like, I don't know. I don't know, but clearly we did not hit capacity on this one. We really did not. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But I find it I find it curious that no one's picking up on this. That basically, a quarter of the building was full for this NXT show, but no one's picking up on it. Oh, okay. Well, I guess that means it's fine. I guess must be business as usual then. Everything's chill. What are we even worried about? Are you worried? I'm not worried. I don't know. It's just curious. Let's just leave it at that. As for the show itself, listen, I legitimately sat down here in this very chair thinking to myself, well, what am I going to say? I thought this was such a nothing, ordinary, perfunctory NXT show, which included one of the matches I disliked the most in 2024. So I was like, how am I going to make this interesting? Like, how is this going to be interesting, right? In any way, shape, or form? Or it's like, I could be done with this like in 15 minutes. Like, I could just breeze through this and just shrug shoulders throughout the entire, well, this is something that happened. Like, I don't know. I have my notes, of course. Like, I'm not unprepared. I think the most interesting part of this review is that I'm debuting a new hat. This is my new hat. Do you like my new hat? I like this new hat. It's a flat cap with a little, it has with just a little button thing here at the top with the snap here just at the brim over the, right here, just a little snap there. It's a nice hat. You can call it a flat cap, which, it's kind of the catch-all term, right? You can call it an Ivy cap if you wanted to. You can call it a cabbie cap. You can call it a driving cap, I think, a crook cap. A golf cap is also in there. Lots of names for this hat. You can pick the one that you prefer. In fact, if you want to leave a comment and tell me what would be what you would like to call this hat, what would be your nomenclature of preference, I would be more than happy to see what the results are, and go with it, and start referring to the hat as such. Why did you get a new hat, Warren? Well, I'm telling you. I got a new hat because it is the office Christmas party coming up later this week, this upcoming week. And, I always, go out and try to find some kind of little outfit, little something interesting. There's a lot of things that I'm not into. I'm not a big suit guy. I don't own, I own a suit. I don't even know if the suit fits me anymore, to be honest. It's been a long time since I've worn it. I guess I should own a suit, for, funerals. Like, there is no, like, I have no opportunities to wear a suit. It's like, well, what if you're looking for a high paying job, Warren? What if you go get interviewed? What if you go get interviewed, Warren, So, well, the job I'm going to interview for is going to be for a company that doesn't require me to wear a suit. I'm sorry. I am not sitting around all day in a fucking suit doing my work. Like, that's just not how it goes. So, I have a suit, but, and then here's the thing is that once you go to your office party, let's say you go to your office party and you put Christmas party, right? And you wear the suit because you want to wear something good. You want to wear something fancy. You want to wear something out of the ordinary because these people see you every day. And, the office Christmas party is usually an opportunity where people are going to, it's usually a moment where people are going to take the opportunity to, show up, dress up. The ladies do their makeup, they go get a special hairdo, the guys, they just look all sharp, so that you don't look like the typical slob you are on your 9 to 5, right? So, there's always a bit of that where people are like, where people do that, and a lot of people look tremendous in their outfits, and for the past couple of years, I've decided to go down a more vintage route. I've been like, look, what if, because I don't know, I like to go counter all these trends. You've got these guys, these tremendous guys who I work with. And they're fit. This looks like they come in with their suits. It looks like they're poured into the suit. You know exactly what I'm saying. Well, WarrenHayes doesn't look like he's poured into anything. It's more like he's bursting at the seams in some regions. So I can't pull that stuff off. So I'm like, okay, well, what I decided to like my outfits would be more vintage, like throwbacks. Last year I did a total 1950s Christmas type where I had a red turtleneck over which I had a casual dress jacket from the 50s, pleated pants, high waist. That's tremendous. Like that I'm like, oh, that's fun. So I'm trying to do the same thing this year. I think it might just be. I think the thing that I might just end up doing is black pants, white shirt, black suspenders, hat, bow tie. I think that's it. I think just straight to the point. I think that's the way to go. Wouldn't you say? Isn't that the way to go? So that's why I got the hat, because I think the hat. See, not a lot of people use hats as a fashion accessory, really, in these types of events. You'll have the watches, the jewelry, but not a lot of people do the hat. And I think the hat is a statement. And not everybody, I understand why it might not be generalized, because not everybody has a hat head. Sometimes when I was looking for hats online, and you look at the dudes that they have modeling for these hats, you're like, you're not doing this hat a service, sir, because you do not have a head that is conducive to hats. You don't have a hat head. But I can wear just about any hat. I think any hat works on my head. I've tried multiple hats. Maybe outside of a Stetson, I'd say. I wouldn't know. Like I've never had the opportunity to like really get down with it with a real deal, like big, true to form cowboy hat. So maybe a Stetson, something like that. But hats, caps, like I wear those all the time. Beanies, look, I'm a big beanie fan as well. Those work great. I have a hat with flaps that go down over the ears. So that's tremendous. A propeller beanie. I've done one of those in the past. It works out very good. Look, the point is that I think that I think a lot of people put I think the easy way to go to your office Christmas party is to like just the easy way to do it is slap on a shirt, slap on some khakis or something, or go in a suit. And for dudes, of course, I'm talking about, because for women it's always more complicated. It is, but it is legitimately more complicated. Like it's a lot more complicated. I think like women have for these types of Christmas parties, I think they really go all out, and dresses and hairstyles, like it's much more of a procedure than for us dudes. Then it's like the dudes, we shave ourselves down a little bit. You put some some product in your, on your hands, and then you do one of these with your hair, and then you walk out the door. You're good. Spray on some fucking cologne or whatever, and you're good. You hit the bricks. Whereas for women, it's a lot more invested. Gotta get the hair done. Gotta get some, a lot, nails too, right? Gotta get the hair done. Gotta get the nails done. The dress is usually quite complex as well. Like there's a lot of thought that goes into it. It's not an easy path. We dudes have it pretty easy when it comes to decking out for a Christmas party or any type of formal event, really. All a guy has to do is put on a tux for evening wear, for an event that requires evening wear. The ladies, they have to. There's a little more work that goes into it. So I can appreciate that. I appreciate that it's a lot easier for us. So therefore, ergo, like you go to your Christmas party, and if you do like a shirt and khakis and a tie, or like I said, a suit, like it's very easy. It's very simple. It's just like, okay, that's the thing. You got to add a little something that's just going to be make it a little extra special, especially when I see the sales guys who are there, right? Who I work with regularly because of the nature of what I do for the company I work for. So I work with the sales team a lot, and they're always like in suits because they're meeting high level customers and so on and so forth. So, so they go to the Christmas party and they have the same suit that they had on like last Tuesday. So I'm like, okie dokie, not to say that they're creeps or they're not, they're bad people or, they're stupid or whatever. No, it's just like, well, the effort is there. Like there's no effort put into it. But then they come, let's say with their significant other, and boy, they're, they've got the beautiful dress on, it had, and they're sparkling with jewelry, and they did the makeup thing, and they did the makeup with the sparkles, and whatever. Why am I talking about this? It's all this because I'm excited to be debuting a new hat today. Well, I mean, you got to find your excitement somewhere when you got to sit down and talk about NXT Deadline. Okay, let's just move on to it. Let's just do this again. Let's just not do this again. Let's just move on and get to it so we can close the book on this chapter here. Yeah, like I said, like this is such a nothing show. It's such a nothing show, and I swear, like I don't understand how people find sincere like appreciation of what's of NXT wrestling. Like, and there's some people like I know watch a lot of wrestling, and I think they just adjust their expectations, right? I think they just adjust their expectations. And I think my expectations would be different. If this NXT, if this iteration of NXT wasn't presented to me as some big revelatory show where it's like the stars of tomorrow here today and just pushing everything is great, and then the fans parroting that, and then the fans going, yes, this wrestler is great, when in fact, because then when you push back on it, when you push back on people saying, let's say Trick Williams is a great pro wrestler, and then you push back saying Trick has a lot of upside, but he's not great yet. He still has some work, but he, there's some upside to Trick, which is undeniable. And then they get upset when you push back with a nuanced approach. Like, no, I have seen great wrestlers. I watch great pro wrestlers wrestling right now. Like great, like truly great. Trick Williams is not a great pro wrestler. Okay? Let's just, I wish people would just have either the intellectual curiosity to just check out other types of wrestling, or to just back off of their comments or nuance them a little more instead of calling him great. Because again, this doesn't do him or anyone that you call great who is not great or not ready for prime time and you're calling great. It does them a disservice as a pro wrestler, because eventually they will grow, and eventually there's a chance that they might become great. So what do you say, you as a fan, when they are legitimately great and you've been calling them great their entire career? Do you say, I was saying they were great from the get-go? No, that's not what you say. It's like, Kyle Fletcher over on the other side is a good example. This is a kid who started wrestling a few years ago, and everyone would just point at the guy and said, he's got something. He's going to be a star. But the tools are he has all the tools to do it, but it's up to him, right? Even Hiroshi Tanahashi saw it. He said, this kid is special. They all saw it. But the kid can be special and he could have all the tools, but if he doesn't use the tools, he's never going to be something special. And Kyle Fletcher is a tremendous pro wrestler. Do I call him great? No, of course not. Not yet. Not yet. Which is not to say he can't get there. It's like everything has to be great right now. Everything has to be a 5-star Yelp review. I keep saying Yelp. I don't even know if Yelp is still a thing. I don't even know if people still use Yelp. Do people still use Yelp? Do they still Yelp bomb restaurants that create that put out awful statements on social media or whatever? I don't even know if that's a passe kind of reference anymore. I don't know. When's the last time I used Yelp? I don't even think I ever used Yelp. I was always a Google Maps guy. I still am a Google Maps guy. And the food ratings on Google Maps usually are very much in tune with what I like. So, it has my confidence. Wasn't there a thing years ago where Yelp was suing Google Maps because Google Maps was scraping data off of Yelp to feed its own rating system? I don't quite remember that. I think that something to that effect. We're off course again. Can you tell? I just want to talk about anything else. I just want to talk anything else. I want to talk about Creature Commandos on HBO. That's what I feel like talking about. Have you watched? Look, I'm gonna take, if you have an HBO Max, look at me. Is Yelp still around? HBO Max. Look at the old man here. Get yourself a Max subscription if you don't, and watch Creature Commandos. It's animation. It's the James Gunn. It's the first entry in the James Gunn era of the DC universe, which I don't give a shit about. I just want to be properly entertained, right? And it's tremendous. It's tremendous. It's legitimately a tremendous show. And I was taken aback at how good it was. This, it's the kind of thing I'm into. Weirdos coming together, subverting the superhero genre kind of thing. I'm into that. I'm super into that. But even there, I was, it had the basis for me to enjoy it, but it just went above and beyond. Anyway, Creature Commandos. Anyway, NXT Deadline. Yes, so stop saying people are great when they're starting off. No, because that's the thing. Okay, we're circling back to my point now. So the point is that if people say they're great, I push back and I say, look, they're not great yet, but they might because they have such and such quality. And then the return I get is, well, you're being so harsh. This is developmental. Well, what the fuck then? Okay, so you're great in your developmental environment? Okay, that means nothing to me. That, other than you being a prospect, okay, maybe. Well, Julia's great. Yeah, well, Julia is a fucking accomplished pro wrestler outside of NXT. And the same goes for Stephanie Vicaire, right? Like, it's developmental or it's not. Pick a fucking lane is what I'm trying to say. Otherwise, use proper, like, just talk about wrestlers and wrestling honestly, just honestly. But I also understand that a lot of people don't have any experience watching anything else than the WWE, right? So they're going to see, the Men's Iron Survivor, and they go, hey, this is a fun match, this is good. When in reality, it's a piece of shit. Well, it's not a piece of shit, but it's boring. It's mediocre. Went a little harsh there. I'm trying to light the spark, fellas, ladies. I'm just trying my best here. I'm doing whatever I can. Should we just get into it? So now I'll go watch more Creature Commandos. Men's Iron Survivor match, which opened the show. So, okay. So the women are going to be main eventing. Oba Femi, who was not announced for the match, won the match. because NXT defeating Javon Evans, Ethan Page, Wesley, and Nathan Frazier. Which I always have a tendency to spell Nathan Frazier with an I, Frazier, but there's no I. I got to get that out of my system. Sometimes though, I'm like, why didn't he just keep calling himself Ben Carter? Wasn't it so much simpler when he was Ben Carter? Then there's Frazier, Nathan Frazier, Ben Carter. Isn't that much more to the point? And Ben Carter's a good pro wrestler name. Quite frankly, Ben Carter's a good pro wrestling name, like Glenn Gilberti. Like, I know it's fucking Disco Inferno, but why would you call yourself Disco Inferno? Like, forget the guy, okay? Forget that he's one of the dumbest people on earth, okay? Forget all of that. Forget all the stupid, dopey shit he says, okay? But imagine a wrestler, your actual name is Glenn Gilberti. That is a pro wrestler name. Why didn't you go with that? Why Disco Inferno? Like the absolute antithesis to you ever getting over, to the point that later on when you try to get yourself over, you have to do something cute and spell it DISQO, right? Wasn't that a disco, right? No, stop. You're trying too hard. Glenn Gilberti, though, he would have tore up the territories. You know what I mean? Like, he would have had, a battle of the Italians in Madison Square Garden, Bruno Sammartino versus Glenn Gilberti. Tell me that wouldn't work. That sounds perfect. So I thought this was mediocre. Oba Femi. Let's just cover the Oba Femi thing. Originally, Carl Fredericks, what's he called? Eddie Thorpe. He was supposed to be in this match. He had earned a spot in the Deadline Iron Survivor match, but he got taken out. I don't know what happened. I don't care, honestly. And instead, General Manager Ava, who is the least interesting person in all of wrestling today. This person would not even be remotely working close to this company if it wasn't for the fact that her father is a member of the board of directors of TKO. Is he on the board, or he's on the board, or I don't remember anymore, or he just owns a lot of stock, whatever. And of course, being Dwayne Johnson, right? A couple of years ago, I would lament the fact that WWE would not advertise that they have The Rock's daughter on their roster, right? That Ava Raine could have been called, anything Johnson, right? Just to continue the lineage, I know they have an apprehension to doing that, right? To, Braun Breaker, Curtis Axel, Wyatt and Bo Dallas, it's like not tapping into the lineage, right? They somehow, some way, somewhere, some reason, they hate doing that. But I was like, this is The Rock's daughter. The Rock is the most successful movie star on planet Earth. Why wouldn't you be advertising the fact that his daughter is here? Well, now maybe I know why. Maybe because it's like, no, she's not good. She's not a good pro wrestler. She's not a good talker. She has anti-charisma. Like she's not she's not interesting. She has librarian levels of charisma. And no disrespect to the librarians, because a lot of librarians are, au contraire, very charismatic and so on and so on. I'm talking about the librarian that all they do is just check out books, right? Check in, check out books. They're at the counter and, and they're scanning them as they arrive. And, not the librarians who actually go out and engage with the community, who do like reading events for children and stuff like that. Not that kind of librarian. I mean, the one who just sticks to their job. The one who just takes the books and that's it. But, she's pleasant. She smiles. She's thank you, come again, kind of thing. But she's got no outgoing personality, right? That type. She's got librarian energy. And I'm forced to look. She doesn't even know how to look at a camera. Men's Iron Survivor. Yes, show. Carl Fredericks. Fucking Eddie Thorpe. He got taken out. And then before the show, they did this gimmick. I had this, on background while I was finishing up dinner. I had this on background, so I was sort of listening to it. They had mic stand number 5. I don't remember what it is. Liv Schreiber, right? Saying, I have some news, breaking news. Ava said she's found the replacement for Eddie Thorpe. And then they're like, okay, who? And then she never answers, right? And, Sam Roberts, who was on the pre-show panel, actually got a little smirk out of me. I see what he's doing here. See, the question was that what everyone was wondering who is going to replace Carl Fredericks? Eddie Thorpe, and so Eddie Thorpe gets so then Liv Schreiber says, I talked to Ava and she said she found the replacement, and then she throws it back to studio, back to you, and then Sam Roberts is there's like, well, who is it? Who? And he starts going off on her saying, why didn't she ask any follow-up questions? What is it? And I'm like, oh my God. Okay, I see what he's doing here. That's actually pretty funny. Like, honestly, that's actually pretty funny. Because she, Liv Schreiber actually did kind of act like wrestling media where they just ask a question and then they take the answer. But Sam Roberts was like, are you still there? Are you still there? He's off on this tangent. Who's the fifth man? Why didn't you ask her the question? I thought that was pretty funny. I honestly, that I had a little smirk, no, I thought that was entertaining. It was a nice little wink. It's okay, you got to be able to laugh at yourself. This match is so fucking slow. Like it's slow. It's so slow, which is weird because early on you have Ethan Page, Javon Evans, and Nathan Frazier in here, who I think broke his nose in this match, by the way. And I'm like, this was the part that I was most looking forward to. These three guys mixing it up, Nathan Frazier just might be one half of my tag team of the year in 2024. Wesley has been doing this for so long. He's a good wrestler. Javon Evans is a legitimate prospect. Didn't have to be WWE ID'd here. Like, this guy's a legitimate prospect. And I was like, I'm excited to see these guys mix it up. But no, then Ethan Page and his dopey antics get involved, and then Obafemi comes in, and it's not. Like, I like Obafemi. Like, I'm very, very pro Obafemi, but I didn't see anything. I didn't see the Obafemi magic here. I didn't see the Obafemi, what's the word I'm looking for? The Obafemi essence. Magic. I was being, the thing here is that all of the focus in this match was putting people in the fucking penalty box, right? Where you'd have these shots of, oh, we got to put you in the box. We got to put you in the box. Ethan Page doesn't want to go in the box. And it's, meanwhile, there's nothing going on in the ring. And I think the most egregious moment of this was when Obafemi was in the penalty box. And then Ethan Page eats a pin. So he has to go to the penalty box while Obafemi's already in the penalty box. But he doesn't want to do that because he pissed Obafemi off. And Obafemi's going to beat him up in the penalty box. And this is a whole segment that has to last easily 90 seconds. 90 seconds in a match which has a hard cutoff time of 25 minutes. There's a time limit to this match. And you're going to give us 90 seconds. It had to be. It felt like forever of Ethan Page, being not wanting to go in, being the chicken shit. And then when he does go in, all you do is focus on Obafemi beating Ethan Page in the ring, in the penalty box. Meanwhile, in the ring, you've got three other guys, but nothing's happening because they're waiting for this segment to pass so that they can get back to doing stuff. But there's like I said, a minute, 90 seconds of all this bullshit that has no impact on the match, on this, ultimately this Iron Man match. Why are we wasting time looking at, I don't care about this. I do not care. It's not going to have any impact on what's going on over here. It's dumb. And then I hated the finish where Obafemi pins two guys at once. So gets 2 points. What? Oh, well, he pinned two guys at once. That's 2 points. So he, then he does it like with 30 seconds to spare and, he wins. Motherfucker. Like this. It's funny because I remember the original Iron Survivor match that they did on Diddle 180. What was it, 2 years ago at this point? The one with Grayson Waller. And I thought it was really good. And I thought Grayson Waller was tremendous. Being a shit heel in this. Racking up pins like in a perfect shit heel way. Where I was like, yes, this is what I do. Like his psychology in the match was impeccable. Whereas here, it's all fucking all over the place. There's no psychology. It doesn't make any sense. And then the decisions that are rendered don't make any sense either. So, mediocre, 2 3/4 stars from me. Lola Vice defeated Jade Parker in a NXT Underground match. This is one of the matches that I have seen this year that I have disliked the most. If I never see a fucking NXT Underground match ever again, it will be too soon. The one that she did with Shayna Baszler, where they started wrestling all over the floor, and I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? Just, this is supposed to be this. They bill this as this, MMA underground style, no holds barred kind of thing where it's pinfall or submission that's supposed to get the finish, right? But then in this match, we get a strap in this. Jada Parker at some point has a strap in this. I'm like, okay. And then we have the bricks. We'll get to the bricks in a second. Then we have bricks and I'm like, well, who cares? What? Just make this a fucking no DQ match. Because the essence of what you're supposed to be doing here doesn't work. Is it because the NXT universe doesn't like it? Is that why? Sure. Then just don't put the matches on then if they don't like it. These are not good matches. These are not good matches. Anyone who goes around pretending that this is a good match is someone you probably shouldn't ask any advice. Look, for sure, they don't have proper advice about hats. They probably think like a fez is is appropriate attire, right? I'm not saying that fezzes can never be worn. I think there are occasions for fezzes, but would you wear a fez to a funeral? Right? And maybe this person who thinks that Lola Vice and Jada Parker, that person who thinks that was a good match, will probably tell you, yes, please, to a funeral, a fez is entirely acceptable. See? But we'd have to quiz these people. But then again, I have no common ground to want to chat with these people regardless. Like, I think they're wrong. I know everything is subjective, but ultimately, like, this is not a good wrestling match or a shoot match, or because that's the idea. It's supposed to be blood sports. It's supposed to be Josh Barnett's blood sports, which, by the way, is running on fumes. Everyone I talk to in regards to these matches kind of agrees that the blood sport work shoot type of deal is kind of played out. It's kind of tired, and it's not that good anymore. I think that the good era has passed. Whatever they're doing now, whatever it is, it's just like, whereas here, that's the idea they're trying to emulate, but it's just not working. Oh, and the fucking slapping of the mat, the entire fucking match is so off-putting and annoying. Who said you gotta keep doing this, blah, 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 even when there's nothing going on? And they were hitting the mat, I should say, when they were both out on the floor. And why are we out on the floor wrestling when this should be going on in the ring? Like, none of this works. It's dumb. It's not good. I know. Lola Vice has a background in this, in MMA. Just because she has a background in it doesn't mean she's good at it. And it doesn't mean that she's able to translate it properly into a worked environment, into a pro wrestling environment. That being said, I still continue to be bullish on Jada Parker. I think that despite the fact that this was convoluted, that the storytelling got in the way with the straps and all this fucking bullshit, I think Jada Parker is better served as a brawler. I think that's what she's best at. Keep her away from doing, flippy shit and, how all the girls are trained right now in NXT, to jump off the ropes and tornado DDTs and all this stuff. Let her develop a solid ground game. Let her become a brawler. I think she has the vibe for sure. And I think she has the capacity to really come across as a bruiser. I think that's the best way you should go about booking this woman, and let her dress let her dress the part. I know the idea. There's a type, right, that they want all their women to develop their gear with. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I don't have to point it out. You all know what I'm talking about. Jada Parker should just come out and look like a fucking killer. Like, make her look like a killer. And all of the, not just like another girl on NXT. Does that make sense? Because I think she has the potential to be special. Again, like, I am not, to my point earlier, I'm not saying she's great. She is super green. Like, she is so incredibly green, right? She's 2 years into this. So it's not as if she's this vet. She's not. She's 2 years into this. She's super duper green, but you can tell she gets it. There's people in this NIL program that they brought in who just didn't get it, who just don't understand it. There's people who've been called up to the main roster. It still baffles me. who do not get it, who are just bad at this. And because of their look, they're going to get, they're going to get something. Jada Parker has the potential to really be a standout. I think she has a niche, but she just has to be booked that way. I'm still very bullish on her. She's far from a finished product. She's not great yet. Will she ever be? I don't know. But I think she has a lot of naturals that a lot of these people in NXT, not a lot, but some people in NXT comparatively who came in the same way do not have and probably will never develop. She's got it. She understands stuff. I like her. And the bricks, the bouncy bricks, did you see that? The bouncy bricks. Of course, the safety police will tell you that they prefer to have, rubber bricks being used as opposed to real bricks because they don't want people to get hurt. Well, here's the thing is like, if you use them properly, the real bricks, you can maintain the illusion that this is, that it's dangerous, but professionals who can use them properly will make sure that the other guy doesn't legitimately get hurt, or girl in this circumstance here. So it's just they don't trust their people. That's all. That's all there is to it. But when I see them drop the bricks and the bricks start bouncing around like they're, like they're a fucking bouncy ball. Like, Jesus Christ. But you see, everything is so phony and contrived and overproduced in NXT. Like there's nothing organic about NXT. There's never anything organic. They're going to bring in bricks. They're going to tell you the bricks are dangerous. Oh, they cracked it. But it's not even it's a rubber brick. You see it like the brick is bouncing around in the ring when they drop it. Like, come on. Come on. At least make a play to suspend my disbelief. Try. Instead of the fiberglass, not the fiberglass, but the pink insulated ladders that they use, and the soft the soft chairs all of that is, at least try to make me believe. 1 3/4 stars for me for this match. I really didn't like it. I really didn't like this match at all. Axiom and Nathan Frazier defeat the duo of Miles Bourne and Tavion Heights. Miles Bourne, who I like to refer to as a creative wrestler number 3. And these are from the No Quarter Catch crew. So the idea here is, the perpetual miscommunications that exist between Axiom and Nathan Frazier still are not a detriment to them winning matches and holding on to the NXT Tag Team Championships because they're very good pro wrestlers. And again, in this circumstance here, they play off of that, they win, and once again, Axiom and Nathan Frazier are a highlight of an NXT PLE. Now, was this the best match that I've ever seen between Axiom and Nathan Frazier? No, I think their matches with Chase U earlier this year were absolutely phenomenal. Like, really great matches, good stuff that I was really into. This was fine. It was good. I liked it. I'm not, bouncing around in the room like an NXT brick, but I didn't hate it. I thought it was good. I thought it was good enough. And I thought the final stretch of this was particularly into it. I thought the crowd was dead for most of this match. I thought the crowd was dead for most of this pay-per-view regardless. I don't think this audience was really into the NXT. Out the mud come out. Shouldn't say it that way, right? Come to the ring then. You can't. Out the mud come out. That's not great. Doesn't sound great. Sounds a little off. Out the mud come to the ring at some point. I don't know why. I don't know why. But, ultimately, I think it has something to do with, I don't know. It does. Look, Frazier and Axiom are the tag team champions. So maybe they're just coming out to posture. Whatever. It doesn't matter. The crowd is dead anyway for this match. Like I said, very heatless. A lot of heatless matches on this show. A lot of heatless matches. The Iron Survivor match, The NXT Underground match for sure. Even Trick and Ridge Holland, heatless. And this was built to have heat, but it ended up having, we'll get to that in a second. Yeah, I mean, they pop for the spots. They get into it for the spots. Otherwise, it's the murmur throughout. But when they do the big spots throughout the show, you get the big spot, then the crowd comes alive. And in this match, there's actually a tremendous spot where Tavion Heights belly to bellies, I think it's Nathan Frazier over the top rope, and Frazier then falls to the floor on the Out the Mud fellows. I thought that was tremendous. And you know what? Here's the thing. Tavion Heights in this match here, I hadn't seen him since his return from his excursion in Noah in the N1. I thought he looked very good. And I was like, okay, from the last time I saw him wrestle to now, there's a snap to what he does. There's something a lot more efficient. His offense looks credible and real. And I'm like, okay. I think this guy picked something up. I think he understood something by heading over to Japan to work some Puro wrestlers. Because he's here doing some tremendous stuff and little things often, but doing them real well. He looks a lot more credible than he was. I really enjoyed it. Really a different snap to what he does now. He has a great exchange with Axiom at some point in this match too. And then he drops Frazier with a tremendous DVD on the apron, just tremendous stuff. Axiom lands a destroyer then on Heights. Creative Wrestler 3 tries to pin Axiom, but then Axiom reverses that into a cradle for the win. And the idea here, there's the idea, part of the story here, of course, was the fact that Nathan Frazier was pulling double duty and he was banged up during his Deadle 1 NE match. And so there was a lot of posturing for the injuries, where I'm like, there's another way to tell the story other than taking this route, which is a lot more heavy-handed and force-feeding it down our throat. Then, what you could have done is just integrate it more seamlessly into the match. And we're not stupid. We would have figured it out. The guy's nose is out to here. He's got the rib tape. We understand what's going on. That's it. We're not fucking dummies. So we would have figured it out. I think this could have been better, but for what I saw, I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. 3.25 stars for me. Trick Williams versus Ridge Holland had themselves a mid-off. And look, I've seen every Trick Williams PLE title defense. Okay, if he's defended it, and the one in Chicago for the launch of NXT on the CW, all of his defenses are mid. They're all mid. Now, why is that? Why do you think they're mid? It goes to a point I was making earlier, because he's not ready to be in these kinds of spots. He's still a rookie. He's still fairly new at this. And, I will always say, what is he's not even 4 years into the business, right? 3 years? 2 or 3 years. And they propelled him to the top of the NXT because he got really, really popular. He's got the catchphrase, and the people like the Trick Williams. So that's why they decided to just pull the trigger on him really, really quickly and make him the top guy of their NXT brand. When not unlike Braun Breaker, that I kept saying over and over, wasn't ready for it. He's not ready for that spot. He doesn't know how to have main event matches yet, and none of them have been main event matches. And I kind of feel like his match, and I'd have to go back because I don't remember. Shoot me that I don't remember NXT matches. But if I remember, even his match with Carmelo Hayes, which was the big blow off to their friendship / feud, wasn't that great either. But again, like this guy is not ready and he's still sloppy and he's still missing moves, you know. He's still blowing spots and that's what it is. That's Trick Williams now. But somehow I'm supposed to say that he's this great pro wrestler. Again, I'm not saying that he can't evolve there, that he can't evolve into that spot. He's been at this for only 3 years. He's a guy who's never wrestled before. So, you know, he's got so many great vibes down. Crowd connection is there. All of this is undeniable. But he is not a finished product. And they're treating him like he's a finished product. And they want you to believe he's a finished product. So the audience treats him like a finished product. When in reality, he's still got a ways to go. Ridge Holland, he's boring. It's just big, meaty, meathead boring. And there's nothing here. I don't know why they keep trying to make Ridge Holland into a thing. There's nothing here. There's nothing to this. And they're playing off neck injury, you know, on the NXT. They had Ridge Holland, you know, injure Trick's neck and Trick, you know, got sent out to, he did a stretcher job and he, you know, he's back from hospital, you know, fresh off the injury, wanted to fight. What a hero. Wanted to fight nonetheless. I don't know, man, like stuff happens. There's back and forth. Trick does his comeback. They fall into pins onto each other. I'm like, oh, this is so corny. It's not, and the crowd's not into it. Look, and the crowd's not into it. And I don't even think they were all that into Trick's entrance either. And I don't know if it's because it was a smaller audience, but I would argue that Trick Williams doesn't feel as hot anymore. Doesn't feel quite as hot as he was when he won the NXT championship and people were really excited about it. Do you think that maybe a program with Ethan Page, the most mid pro wrestler on planet Earth, didn't help? Do you think that didn't get the blood boiling and people sort of shrugged their shoulders? Or do you think? There's this really scary spot in this match where Trick's neck gets tied up in the ropes, and I don't think that was planned, because the referee really does struggle to get him out. So that was really scary. But yeah, he wins doing his kick and the trick kick and the trick shot. Another mid-title defense. I don't know what to tell you. 2.5 stars for me. And then we had the women's Survivor match where Julia defeated Sol Ruca, Stephanie Vaquer, Ren Sinclair, and Zarya to become the number 1 contender for the NXT Women's Championship. And Julia was like, she opened the match and she won it, right? She was there from the start. You know, they did some interesting little ground wrestling between Ren Sinclair and Julia, which I didn't hate. I thought that was a lot of fun. Sol Ruca comes out and, you know, they did what they were doing here. The ladies was doing triple submissions, right? So, you know, you'd have one lady lock on a sleeper on another. So then the free one would come over and then sleeper hold the one putting on the sleeper hold. And they do this a few times, doing triple submissions on. Okay, this is it's a little corny and it's a little slow. It doesn't have any snap to it. It's not it's not working for me. But I appreciate the effort, but the execution was a little stilted. Zarya comes in. She gets powerbombed through the commentary table because she's a force to be reckoned with. Basically, they treat her like Kane in old Royal Rumbles, right? Or the Big Show. They try to get rid of her early on. There were some impressive moves here. Sol Ruca does the handstand moonsault, like the not a cartwheel, but backflips. That's not even a handstand. Backflips into a moonsault to the floor, which I thought was tremendous. Zarya does a cannonball senton onto Stephanie Vaquer while having Julia on her shoulders. I'm like, wow, all right. Like, that was pretty cool. They're teasing Stephanie Vaquer and Julia a lot. You know, they come to blows during the match. pulling at each other's hair, very, Joshi style. You don't see much of that in NXT, right? And I was like, okay, like there's some, when the Joshi girls, like they start yanking at each other's hair, pulling the head back. There's something vicious about that, And that's what they were doing, both Vicaire and Julia. And you don't see that in NXT. No one tugs at the hair. No one ever tugs at the hair. So I was like, not bad. They all drop each other with power moves, and then there's 4 women tied at 1 for the last few minutes. And there's a last ditch effort for pins. Julia eventually lands a pin on Stephanie Vicaire, and she's able to maintain her lead for the last few seconds, despite Vicaire doing her best to try and roll up for a pin. She too little, too late. Ref calls, well, not ref, but the bell rings, right? Because there's sirens. You have to do sirens. But the bell rings, match is over, and Vicaire's like, and Julia wins. I like this much better than the men's Diddle one, not the Iron Survivor match. I give it 3 1/4 star, but then again, there's nothing that resonates to the point where I'm like, this is so great. It was good. I enjoyed it, and that's pretty much it. I do have to point out at the end, Julia, she won the Iron Survivor match. Bell rings, everyone hits the bricks, and then they do streamers, and then a cloud of confetti starts falling down upon her, right? Like from everywhere in the building. And you've got, and the streamers, and I'm looking at this and I'm like, she just won a number 1 contenders match. Why are they acting like she won the main event at WrestleMania? And it was so weird. They didn't do this for Oba Femi. No, I understand why they're doing it. Don't get me wrong. But it's weird because it's just a number 1 contenders match. That's all she won. She didn't win the title. She won the right to challenge. She's the next one up on tap for Roxanne Perez. And they're doing the huge celebration, like Lex Luger style. Where it's, you know what I'm talking about? Just a baffling finish. I was like, why are they doing this? What is this? She won a number 1 contenders match. Who cares? Oh, this promotion, I'll tell you. That was WWE Deadline NE. Absolutely skipped the show. There's no reason to watch it. I didn't think it was was it as bad as the other PLE? So the last pay-per-view would be PLE would be Halloween Havoc over in October, right? And I really didn't like that show because I thought it was infinitely dumb and boring. And I still think Halloween Havoc this year is a worse show than Deadline NE. I think Deadline NE has I think it has at least 2 matches that are better than a lot of stuff that happened on Halloween Havoc, because I'm looking over my Halloween Havoc notes. Right, Tony D'Angelo and Oba Femi, which was not good. Andre Chase versus Ridge Holland, the ambulance match, was terrible. Another Trick Williams, Ethan Page mid-off. Kelani Jordan versus the Fatal Influence. Like, all this stuff stunk. Like, it wasn't good. It just was not good. Here you do have a couple of saving graces. I think the Women's Survivor match was pretty good. I thought the tag team match was pretty good. But you see, to compensate, you have one of the worst matches you'll see all year in, that I saw all year in the Lola Vice Jada Parker mess. So, if we're rating from beneath, then yes, this is better, but not by much. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this review of NXT Deadline 2024. And that about does it for another edition of the podcast here on the Mr. Warren Hayes Show. So we're going to wrap it up. Thank you all very much for joining me. If you wouldn't mind, if you haven't done already, a like on the video or some ratings on the other side of the podcast stuff, ratings, reviews, and all that stuff would be tremendous. I, of course, will be back Thursday with another AEW Dynamite review. Usually on Thursdays I stream as well on youtube.com/MrWarrenHayes. So if you want to do that, that would be tremendous. Otherwise, I will be back next week. There will be shows that will be reviewed as well. So it's still gonna be a good time as we keep inching closer and closer to the Christmas time. So thank you all very much for being here, and I'll see you next time.